What's going on, guys? Welcome to Everything Always. My name's Michael Roman, aka Allfires. You know, you can't make an omelet without cracking some eggs, or in this case, you can't make a different kind of omelet as Marvel Studios tries to reimagine their MCU and going forward, not repeat some of the same mistakes that had them at, well, a less than peak performance during Phase 4 and some of Phase 5. That being said, when Marvel Studios said they were scaling back, releasing less projects, doing less titles, it all came behind the quotes from Bob Iger, the returning CEO, that they had to get back and focus on what made the Infinity Saga work, and that was a primary focus on the Avengers saga. Well, as it turns out, we're just now starting to see for real and in real time what that actually looks like at Marvel Studios. Projects that were in various stages of pre-development and probably already had significant amounts of time and money put behind them seemingly canceled. Just days ago, we reported that it looks like now confirmed Blade is in temporary limbo and or canceled at Marvel Studios after installing their 6th writer on the project in the last 5+ years. It also appears as though Eternals has now been canceled. This was the latest from Variety, breaking late yesterday. We're going to talk about what's in the article, go over it in full, and then I think there is some greater context here from the MCU and going forward what we can expect about titles like the Eternals. They are not going to take long shots on characters that were never that popular in the publishing. It's something they've been trying to do again during Phase 4, and it hasn't worked out as well as they had hoped. We're breaking it all down, but first, if you could, quick reminder, hit the sub button, leave a comment down below. We're still doing a PS5 giveaway. The next one is next month to coincide with the Agatha all along. All you got to do is be a sub, leave a comment if you want. Stick around to the end of the video. We get into all the giveaway stuff again there. So again, this broke late yesterday from Variety under the headline, Kit Harington quips, "I'm not going to pretend I took the MCU role in Eternals because it was, quote, different or interesting. If Marvel calls, you got to do it," where they go on to report, quote, "While Eternals ended with a note suggesting the characters would return in a sequel, the Chloe Zhao directed tentpole was a box office disappointment with $402 million worldwide, well below Marvel standards. Marvel is reportedly not developing a sequel at this time, and meanwhile, Mahershala Ali starring Blade movie that Kit Harington's Black Knight was being teed up for remains unclear what the future holds at this time." Now, for a little bit of context, we actually heard from several actors in the movie itself, including Patton Oswalt, that they were going to do a sequel to this film that was seemingly teed up with Eros and the introduction of Pip at the end during the post-credit scene. It was even rumored by industry insiders like Daniel RPK, after they confirmed that this was in pre-production, that Richard Madden would be back as Icarus after he seemingly died at the end of the film, and that they would go a different route with the director, and Chloe Zhao would not be back. So there were tons of reports over the, say, last 24 months, and from so many different sources, it really looked like a certainty they were going to make this movie. And I got to be honest with you guys, I was shocked the entire time. Eternals lost money. A lot of it. It was over budget and came out to $272 million, which is insane when you think about the fact that Secret Invasion cost $250. Again, I wanted to know where the money went. It didn't all go to the CGI in that final scene, but still, Eternals cost $272 million to make. It probably had a marketing budget of another $150 million, taking the spend on Marvel's side somewhere north of $400 million. It only made $402 million at the box office, and remember, theaters keep half. So that movie tanked about $200 to $250,000 for Marvel Studios and did not serve as an investment or a lead up to a huge Avengers crossover films. And I'm sure that's the way that they've sort of excused some of the bottom line spending when movies have lost money, say like Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, that barely broke even or lost money by about the tens of millions after the box office and the marketing and the theater taking half. Let me make sure I'm saying that clearly. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania was slightly unprofitable between 10 and 50 million, more like 30 or 25, but still slightly unprofitable. And execs may have pointed to that movie and said, yeah, but that was in service of a big Avengers film, except for the fact that it wasn't, and maybe try to justify not being profitable. But for a title like the Eternals, characters that were never that popular in the publishing to begin with, Marvel Studios, Disney, is not going to go and float a $250,000 loss just to make a film like this, especially when it doesn't serve a greater franchise like the Avengers, which was Bob Iger's whole point about how they sort of lost their way. They wanted to focus on all these B-tier, tertiary tier characters that, again, never really pushed the comic books in the first place. And then we're hoping that on the back of Avengers Endgame and the hype of the MCU would be enough to carry these characters. And yes, While several of these projects had their flaws, and the writing wasn't great in a couple of spots, and there has been some bad CGI, I also feel like, as proven by a lot of the releases here lately that have done well for Marvel, if you focus on the characters that were popular to begin with, you have a much better chance of success. And so some of you have asked, why haven't you been talking about Agatha? Why didn't you break down the trailer? Well, because I do look at that project as sort of a remnant, an artifact of the old way at Marvel of doing projects that maybe of characters you wouldn't have suspected would ever get a solo title. And while Sony seems intent on taking Spider-Man's Rogue Gallery and doing this exact same thing and not actually having a Spider-Man, I just don't see Marvel ever focusing on titles like the Eternals again. Maybe there is a time and a place that we get there, but these characters could also show back up in the MCU somewhere down the road in some other person's project. The same could happen for Black Knight, so I'm not sure Kit Harington's future's exactly as done in the MCU as maybe this article made it sound. Yeah, for a lot of these characters, we probably won't see them again. Maybe Arishem never comes back to Earth to judge it, but in actuality, that might be for the best, and we were talking about that in the video earlier today based on the production companies sort of pointing to certain plot leaks, that they just might not have the time to do all of these characters. They have definitely introduced way too many in post-credit scenes they won't be able to get to. If Scar were to show back up in Secret Wars, it would be a little weird considering we've only seen him on screen for about 30 seconds. He hasn't done anything. So there are so many characters in the breadth of Secret Wars to get to. What they need to do with Doctor Doom in the multiverse, maybe it's for the best that we don't also have to work in Arishem the Judge and the Celestials. I mean, maybe just a cleaner story all around. And I know for some of you who are going to be disappointed about the Eternals title not getting made, but guys, we can't have it both ways, right? You can't have Marvel Studios only sticking to the stuff that works and making the best projects they can, but then also doing all of these B-tier characters or C-tier teams and making a ton of projects that maybe don't fit a bigger narrative like an Avengers film. And please don't get me wrong, one of my favorite projects behind, I think, Loki Season 2, X-Men 97, and then everybody's favorite top Marvel films like Winter Soldier is the Werewolf by Night special presentation, which really had nothing to do with the Avengers at all. I absolutely love that. I watch it all the time. It's one of my favorite Marvel projects of all time. You can do that sort of stuff, but just not to the tune of $250,000 loss. That's why your film number 2 doesn't get made, because that's just not the sort of thing they're going to blow money on. They'll do the small presentations, and I think that they should, and they should continue to explore characters that don't just fit the Avengers, but again, not to $250,000 loss, and not the way that they did Eternals. But you guys let me know all your thoughts down below. Maybe you disagree. Quickly, let's get into the giveaway stuff before I let you go. We are still giving away PlayStations. Again, super simple to be entered to win. Just make sure you hit the sub button, leave a comment down below. My name's Michael Roman. Find me on Instagram and Twitter at I'mFires. Find me on all platforms with original music under the name Allfires. Thanks for checking the video out. Stick around, guys. We'll be posting again real soon.